Good morning and welcome to Clayton Art Club. If you just bear with me 2 seconds, I'm just going to double check that the sound is coming through and then we'll get started. So it won't take me very long to double check that. Okay, testing 1 2 3. Testing 1 2 3. Testing 1 2 3. Okay, that's working. That's great. Okay, let's get started. So feel free to say hello in the comments. Let me know you're here. If you have any requests for drawings, then feel free to put them in the comments. Hopefully they will display on my screen. So welcome to Clayton Art Club. So I run these drawing lessons every week, mostly in the school term. For home ed kids, but for anyone, you can watch them later as well if you wish. And I try and teach you how to draw, how to do sculpture, how to do different things, and you can follow along. And this one is free, but I also do private lessons if that's a thing that you're interested in. And just double check that the comments are working. I don't know. If someone could just say hello in the comments and see if I can see them on my screen. Oh, okay. Sorry, no, I can see them. So we've got Matthew, we've got Saren, and we have Sarah. Oh, George. Hello, George. How are you doing? Can you do Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, please? And we've got Bracken as well. Brilliant. Got a nice turnout today. Yeah, so let me just get those comments up. And yeah, Ansu, hello. Right, so Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, that sounds fun. Let me just get some reference for that. So my comments don't seem to be coming up on my phone, which is kind of annoying. They are coming up on my computer, so if I miss your comments, I do apologise. Oh, there is a scroll. Is there a scroll? No. Okay. Normally, my comments come up on my screen that I'm live streaming on. That means that I can not miss them. So, but there is a chance I'll probably be missing your comments a little bit. So, Teenage Mutant Hero Turtles. Oh, cool. Right, let's double check I'm seeing the comments okay. So let's have a look. So do you have a favourite Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle that you... oh, sorry, hang on. Oh, so we've got Hannah and we've got Hannah's brother. That's cool. So Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. So do you have a specific Ninja Turtle that's your favourite? Probably Leo. Okay, that's cool. I've seen that comment now. Leonardo. Right, let's see if I can find a bit of reference for these guys. Quite complex guys, I think, but let me just find something cool. I'm just looking up some reference for a second, so just bear with me a moment. Getting there. Sorry about this. Okay, so let's go. So I'll zoom in a little bit. So I'm going to start off with the shape of the head. And I often start drawing with pencil and then turn over to ink pen, and then I turn over to alcohol pen. Now I'm going to lean on paper because this paper underneath is actually a little bit rough, and that's affecting the smoothness of my drawing. And I'm also need to use a different pencil, I think. So I'm going to use a 6B, nice and soft, but you can use whichever one you want. And the good thing about a soft pencil is it's easier to rub out. And we're just using our pencil lines for construction, really. So if you can hear the wind in the background, it's crazy wind outside today. So you're going to have his left arm coming across. This is a stick man approach. And then we've got a big turtle belly. And then we'll do the legs. Okay, let me just double check the comments, see if anyone's written anything. No, I think we're all good. And start bulking out these with the pencil as well. So you can imagine the arm is there. You've got the front bit of the shell. You've got the back bit of the shell. He'll have a sword coming out or something. And then we've got I realised I'm just drawing off the screen, so I'll just zoom out again. There we go. Okay, so this is the gist of our drawing. And I think some kind of belt going around. And I kind of want both eyes looking this way, just to create that kind of projection of space, I would say. So and then he needs to be holding his cool swords. So I kind of want to create that kind of look that the arm is going around, not just kind of really short, but kind of longer. So we're going to make this part narrower. and we'll use shading as well. So we'll look at the muscles as well. I'll look at the shape of the shell. So I'm just adding construction lines in as well. So if you ever look at an architect drawing when they're designing buildings, there's a thing called an architect pencil that's blue. And sometimes if you're drawing and you've only got coloured crayons and stuff like that, sometimes it's good to draw your construction lines not in pencil, but draw it in like a yellow. And because it's a light colour, when you then put dark colours over the top, you can almost, your brain can almost ignore the yellow lines after a while, because you can kind of go over the top. So that could be a good tip for you. And it's important to draw it like this in pencil first, because what you can do is you can get the poses right. You can make sure that it looks kind of proportionally kind of accurate. Let's put a belt on with a nice big L on. Something like this. And I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw his hand this way, holding another sword that goes right. So now we've got our construction lines kind of phased out, I'm just going to lightly use my rubber just to dampen what I've drawn a little bit. What you find is sometimes your rubber can get quite dirty, so it's worth getting a scrap piece of paper and just rubbing it on, or making sure that your rubber is clean. So finding a corner that doesn't have too much ink on, that can be a good way. So I'm going to jump onto my black pens, and depending on what scale you're drawing, if you're drawing a tiny drawing, you probably want quite a fine black pen, whereas if you're doing something a bit bigger in scale like this one, then I suggest you use kind of medium thickness pen. And if you're doing quite a big drawing and you want quite bold lines, then you could use quite a thick pen. And these are waterproof, which is quite important for use with alcohol markers and things like felt tips. So I'm just using the construction lines as a guide, so I don't have to worry as much about proportions. And we're going narrow to show that the arm is going away. I think my favourite Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle is probably Donatello, because he's the tech guy, which I always think is cool. So he only has 3 fingers. So I want to come down and draw the shell and the bit under the shell. And I'm drawing a lot slower than I am with pencil, and I'm being a bit more deliberate just to get that kind of exactness and accuracy, whereas when I was drawing with pencil, I'm kind of not really. Because I'm going to end up rubbing out a lot of the pencil lines. Okay, so we've got our legs coming on, we've got the first arm, and often I kind of end up drawing the fore parts first, so the bits that are in the front I tend to draw first, and then I can kind of draw the other things behind. So you see how I drew the belt first, because that's in front, and then I can draw the shell kind of like around it, if that makes sense. We want to add those segments to the shell. Then I want to draw the shell part, so it's going to come around here. Can have a strap or something coming over just so that it looks like he's got something. And this is now not a sword holder, but sorry, it's a sword holder, not a sword. I was going to put the sword there, I decided not to. So now we want to do the face. I want to draw the mask. Oh, got another, is that another comment? Let me just have a look. And then the dome of the head. We want the mouth to come down quite low. I kind of put in a bit of extra dark above the eye just to give it a bit more kind of like attitude. So we're going to have two tails of whatever that thing is he uses to tie around his head. And we want to draw the down hand as well. I'm not super happy with how I feel like these swords need to be longer, and I've kind of mucked them up, but never mind. Sometimes you've got to go with the flow. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to measure that sword, and I'm going to do the same here. Slightly longer swords really, but never mind. If I was doing it again, I would have spent a bit more time. I'm not sure I'm happy with how this hand's looking either. But for now, that's okay. I'm going to use my rubber now quite heavily because I've used quite a lot of pencil. So bear with me. And it's important to wipe away the burrs that you get from your rubber as well, just so that it doesn't contaminate the pens that we use to colour them in. Obviously, if you're using crayon, it doesn't matter as much, or pencil. So I'm pressing quite hard. I'm also not wanting to crease the paper. And this is quite a good rubber. I think you work out which rubbers are good and which rubbers are bad quite quickly. I'm not going to draw the bottom of the legs because I'm not. Right, so let's get some colour going. So let's start. Excuse my voice. So we're going to start off with a bit of browny yellows for the chest section. So I'm going to grab them from my stash of pens. Start with the bright yellow first. That isn't actually that bright. So I'm going to draw this in the middle section. And what's going to happen is the sun's going to kind of be coming from this direction. So we're going to have a brighter section here with a bit of shadow. And then the back side of the character is going to be a darker shade. That's the gist of it anyway. So I'm just going to double check this is not seeping through into my pad underneath. It's fine. Okay. And then I want a nice brightish yellow. So I might pull out a different yellow for this. And then I'm going to grab that middle yellow and just try and blend it in a bit more with this, just to make that kind of gradient between the colours a little bit more. Okay. Put some of those back and I'll come back to that in a minute. So now we're going to use some really cool, sorry about the noise, I'm just putting my pens back in their place. Okay, so they're back in. So we want some really nice greens for Leonardo. So I'm going to grab a couple of these greens. I want a light green as well. Yeah, we're going to start with light green first, and I'll colour in all the segments that are green. What do you guys think of this? Do you think it's looking all right? Think it's looking cool? To be on site, it looks more real than the films. That was... Oh, to be honest, sorry, on site. I think that spell thing is... Can you draw Patty Mobile from SpongeBob, please, with Patrick driving next? Oh, the Patty Mobile, yeah. I know what you mean. The big sandwich car. Yeah, if I've got time, I will do that next. So that's a really nice green, actually. So this is my darker green. And this is also where the shadow kind of falls on, and I can use it to really define like the textures and the kind of the shape of the muscles and all that jazz. So and then just use a middle green just to blend those in a bit more. And we jump back onto the original green and just blend those in, and when they dry they come out a bit more blended, hopefully. So let's I'm kind of happy with them greens. I just want to add a green here as well. And then I'll want to jump onto some blue. I think blue is next. So I want a light blue and a normal blue. So I'm using alcohol markers here. You can get them from Amazon. They're kind of the Ohunu ones, are the ones I'm using. I quite like them. But you can get different makes. And they're very cool. They blend nicely, but you do need to get marker paper if you do get these. But they're very good. So. Something annoying about me is I have doubts about if I can do it, but when I do, it looks amazing. Yeah, it's sometimes with art, it's just about getting started, and actually I often find, well, obviously I've had a lot of practice over the years, but if you get the posture right before you start committing to it, so with pencil or whatever, it makes a massive difference with the rest of the drawing. Whereas if you get the posture wrong, if you get the positioning wrong, if the arm is in the wrong place, it can be really annoying if you've already drawn it in ink or with pencil or what, you know, with pens and stuff. So I quite like how that blue's come out. That's pretty cool. I'm going to use this quiche colour for the handles of the sword, which do look a bit bent, which is not ideal, but I've also missed some parts on this, so the neck part there and the handle here. I'm just doing it kind of rough for this, but and then I want a nice grey. This is a nice light grey. When we come to be doing the highlighting in a minute, I'll be bringing some white in to make it look shiny. Wrong end of the pen then. And that grey isn't really doing much for me, so let's get a darker grey. I don't know what's wrong with my paper today, but it doesn't seem to be... Can you see here how it's going a bit smudgy? It's kind of annoying me. Yeah, yesterday I mastered eyes with manga, an art book I got for Christmas. Oh, that's cool. So you can really, you can go over and draw like lots and lots of eyes if you're on like in the zone of learning to draw eyes, or you can spend a long time like focusing on different things and just draw eyes for a day. That's a really good way of getting good. Or just drawing heads, or I like drawing heads quite often, just heads on their own, and then starting to put shoulders in. It's a good way to start. So this is what I would be using instead of black. So this is a very dark grey, and it's a little bit clunky actually, but and I'm going to go over the top with a brown in a moment, I think. So I'm going to get a nice what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over my brown as well, over my grey as well. What that does is that mixes the brown with the grey and turns it into a greyish brown. And then I want an intermediate brown to go on the inner edge. I don't know what's going on with my pens today, but they feel very smudgy. Like, I don't know if you can see here. They just feel a bit clunky today, and I don't know if I'm just doing something slightly wrong. Oops, sorry. Make that a kind of bright colour for the handles, and maybe... So when you're doing cartoon, there's a style called two-tone where... Oh, sorry, I've zoomed in as well. With animation, if you're watching something like this that's from an animation, they often use a two-tone colour scheme, which basically means that they use two colours for each colour. So, for instance, you have the brown and the yellow to make yellow, and then you've got two colours for the shade, so it's two-tone. And the reason they do that is because in animation, it takes especially in the olden days, it took a long time to draw. So obviously we can be a bit more frugal and add like 3 tones and shades and everything. But there is a definitive style that originates from animation style art, like cartoons. So when you're drawing cartoons, often a two-tone style has come from the fact that it was animation once. So not to worry too much, but you can kind of mimic that a little bit to make it look good, make it look cartoony in style. So I'm just getting my white pen out and trying to wake it up, because it feels like it's fallen asleep. And what I can do with this is I can just bring out some of the highlights in our drawing, and it will make a massive difference. What it does is it catches the bits of the drawing that are catching the sun or catching the light in the room, and they make quite a big difference. I think the pigment's coming through a bit more now, which is cool. And what you can use it to do is break down the solid chunks of colour in it as well. So you can, and you can also smudge it with your finger before it dries. Once it's dry, it's that colour. So just a little bit here and there just makes it look like you're catching the sun. So I'm choosing the edges that are lighter, going around the edges a little bit, and then I can also just smudge it a little bit if I want a kind of softer highlight. Or I can do the old dab technique, which is where you just very lightly dab it, which takes away the kind of boldness of the white. But in some areas I'm just going to leave the white in completely. And you can use it to add texture as well. So you see here with the ridges of the shell, kind of looks quite cool. And then on metallic surfaces you can just add a little bit to the corners, makes it look like it's kind of catching the sun a little bit. I'll do that again. And then for the swords, adding a little bit of reflection here and there does work quite well. This pen isn't working quite as nicely, so I'll just jump onto one of my other white pens. These are just white gel pens. You can get them for like 50p or something from the works, and they're pretty handy to have. In fact, this one's a little bit better than the other one. The other one's a bit softer, whereas this one is a little bit more more precise. Okay, and then I'll just jump onto some grey and just darken a few areas just a little bit. Right, there's my Donatello. I mean, Leonardo, sorry. I think it looks quite cool. So the other request was the Pattymobile from SpongeBob. So let's just do that one. See if I can find a picture of it. Oh yes. Okay. Okay, let's look at time. Okay, I've got 15 minutes, so this one is going to be very sketchy, I think. So let's zoom in a little bit. I'm good. I liked your drawing last week. Okay. Okay, so we're going to start off with the Pattymobile. So going to start off with the... Sorry, I've zoomed in too much, haven't I? And we'll draw... I think it was... Did you request Patrick? I can't remember. Little number plate. Little pickle wheels. Okay, so what does Patrick look like? SpongeBob Patrick. Okay. So let's just rub out a bit of space for him. Hey, Patrick. I mean, SpongeBob. Okay, let's just go back to the Pattymobile. Nice. Draw some sequins on. Right, so I'm going to jump onto my pen now. He's a starfish. Oh, what did I say? Did I say he was a squid? I can't remember. Patrick there. Again, I'm rushing a little bit because I'm aware of time. Don't want to keep you all day. Maybe I do. There's the cheese. Let's get them wheels going. Let's draw some little sesame seed bits on. Nice. What do you think so far? Starfish first, so let's remind myself. Nice and pink, yes, nice and pink. So I do want to get my rubber on, rub out the pencil lines. And I'm holding the paper down as well so I don't crease the paper. Sweeping away all those annoying little doodaddies. And then let's colour in Patrick first. Ah, it's very good, thank you. So the comments are now coming through on my phone, which is good, which is what I'm using to live stream. He's a slightly reddier pink than this. But that's okay. My one kind of looks like the devil. Right, so gonna go back to the patty wagon even. Get some nice yellows. So I'm gonna get a nice orangey yellow and a nice light yellow. And I'll work from there. So this is going to be the bright bit where the sun is shining on it. Again, sorry for the sound of the wind going through my fireplace. I'm going to jump back onto that pink again, try and blend these in a bit more. And then I want a kind of really nice browny tinge to the far side. blend that in a bit more, so something like that. Need a light bright yellow for the cheese. Delicious. Need a nice green for the lettuce. So I want a lighter green for the underside. And then I need a nice, this is interesting, the colour of a burger. I'm going to go for kind of brown, but I'm going to add a bit of a different, maybe a purple into it, just to add that kind of burger meat kind of thing. Maybe more of a pink. What pens do I use? I use Who Knew art markers, and I use marker paper, which is quite important. And they're alcohol based, so they smell really nice, but they're also very good for this kind of thing, because they're a bit better than like felt tips. So I'm doing the bacon back seat. And maybe add a little bit of this in there as well. And we need our pickle wheels. And then put some of these pens back because we're getting a bit crowded here. Try not to jog the live stream. Well, I'll do that later. So we need a nice light blue for the deliberately not colouring in the whole thing. I need a little green for the other pickle. And then, with the 5 minutes to spare, I'm gonna do my favourite part, or one of them, which is to add the white. I'll zoom in a little bit. You want to eat it, it looks so good. Yeah, it does make me want a burger. So I'm just drawing the white. Sorry, I've just realised I'm covering it up. I do apologise. You're hungry now. Pat's going to be angry. Patrick, oh yeah. Well, if I was Leonardo, I would chop it into nice tasty chunks and get nibbling. I think we all would, wouldn't we? I'm going to use the white pen to neaten up where I got the cheese slightly skew-iff. I'm going to add a little bit of orange where there'd be a little bit of shadow, just like that. Make it look even tastier. Patrick looks a little bit like he's gonna start a fight with Donatello. I mean, Leonardo, sorry. But yeah. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles prefer pizza though, don't they? So, I don't know. So what I'm doing now is I'm doing a crazy amount of just scribbling over the top. Then I'm going to count to 3. 1, 2, 3. And then I'm just going to smudge it. Maybe I should have smudged it a bit earlier. I'm going to do the same down here. So I'm going to just do a bit of scribbling with the white. 1, 2, 3. Just wipe it off. Same with the window. 1, 2, 3. Smudge. And that kind of gives a little bit of texture to it. And then what I can do is come back with the yellow. And the yellow will fill in those spaces a little bit. Right, let's zoom out a little bit. So now I'm going to jump onto the grey. And I'm going to add a little bit of shade underneath this guy. Hopefully that looks kind of cool. I think so. I can hear Patrick's voice in the back of my head. Hey man. So I'm going to use a little bit of grey just to make Patrick look like he's more in the vehicle. Just add a little bit of extra shade here and there. Not too much, but they look a bit better closer up, I think, especially with the fact that I haven't drawn the feet on the other one. Right, so wow, that's 1 minute past 11. I drew this one in about 40 minutes and this one in about 15 minutes, maybe 20 minutes. So, yeah, sometimes you draw really fast. I think I warm up on the first drawing and end up drawing a lot faster on the second one. Anyway, thank you so much for joining us. I'll do the similar thing next week. So feel free to join in. Feel free to post your pictures if you've drawn something and you want to show me or the rest of us. If you've got any questions, let me know. And yeah, I'll see you next week and have a great week. And yeah, keep up with the practice and let me know if you want private lessons. Okay, take care. Bye.